Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, so stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to The Crazy Life, everybody. I'm Brian. Joining me as usual is Henno.
Howdy.
And yeah, we're back again. Happy New Year to everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Hope
Yeah.
everyone had a safe and fun holiday. And, like I said on Salty Language last night, I hope for the new year, I hope everybody has a better 2024 than they had 2023. Whether you had a good or a bad 2023, I hope this year's better.
Which is better, yep.
And and like I love, my mom always says that she always wishes people to have enough. Enough food, enough money, enough whatever it is in life that you need. So that your needs are met, basically. And I wish that for everybody as well. And yeah, so how's your last couple weeks been?
Better.
Okay, yeah, good.
Yeah. Better. So everything's getting better. I have pretty much health-wise is ruling the show, and it's like I got to go play some. I went and played some music last week. I got off work and I felt crummy. I still have a ton of. I just feel sick still.
Oh, really?
Like I just
Wow.
yeah, I just do, and my cough has been sometimes persistent. The worst is when I get home at night and it feels like it's just upper respiratory, so it just feels like I got to clear my throat, and I'm sure I'm driving my wife nuts because that sound. I mean, it's just there's nothing I can do about it. I'm taking all the meds still, and
Yeah, I hear you.
and there's-
Obviously with
yeah.
sinus issues and stuff, I know what you're talking about, and it's like I try not to be around other people if I can help it when I'm trying to clean everything out. But
yeah. I mean, my sinuses, all right, that's fine. I'm used to that from a life of allergies, but
Yeah.
this is just different, and
Yeah.
it's kind of annoying. And the worst is where I just feel run down, like I just don't feel well. And I felt that way last week, and I had said that I'd come play music, and I was like, I'd just go. So I went. I had a really good time. I actually sang. I had no problem singing.
oh, that's
Like, I was-
surprising.
Oh
Wow.
yeah, we started with one song that it's a dual vocal thing, and my part came. I'm like, well, here comes the frog.
Yeah. It's like, hey, wait, who invited Barry White?
Totally. I had no problems. I had a really good time, but the next day at work, I was just coughing all day, and unfortunately, I had a board meeting, an annual meeting, and then this is the best part. I had an ultrasound. They scheduled my ultrasound the same day as the meeting, which meant that I had to restrict myself from food and water for a certain amount of time,
Oh,
and then I
yeah.
could guzzle water. Well, I was in the middle of giving presentations, and my mouth is going completely dry in the middle of this meeting. I'm like, this is just great. I had to
Right.
apologize. It was like my mouth was just like this gummy, gooey mess. I was like, ugh, so bad.
Right.
But I'll tell you, it was a great week. I feel like I feel like I'm so far behind at work, but I've felt like I've legitimately been kicking butt.
Okay,
Like
that's good.
I go in, I feel good about my days when I get home. I have a little stress right now because of a project that's kind of up in the air a little bit, and we're having some problems. But uh, it for the most part, everything's been just awesome. And I got to go to a really fun party. It was like a pre New Year's. It was pre New Year's Eve, so it was whatever Friday night,
Okay.
and it was a nice mellow night. And I got to see Kiki and Brianna, but again, it set me back. I got back Saturday and pretty much just lounged, and I had to go to work on Sunday. And when I came home from work on Sunday, I just fell asleep.
Yeah.
I was so tired. Even Sharon was like, "Wow, you're just," and I did some things, some kind of like, all right, clean up a little bit here around the house on New Year's Day, but for the most part, like I was still not in a good spot. And this week it's been up and down, but the last 2 days have been particularly better. One thing I did do is, speaking of, I had rehearsals again set up for Tuesday and Wednesday, and I just blew those off. I was like, nope, it's not worth it for me, because my the pleurisy came back a little bit
Oh,
in
man.
a different spot. Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't horrible, but it was enough. It kept me up at night one night,
Sure.
and then the next day I was taking some painkillers again. I mean, just like aspirin and
Yeah, right.
naproxen. But when it went away in a couple of days pretty quick. But I'm glad I decided to just say no, I'm not doing any more extracurricular activities for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, um, so yeah, in the big picture, really, it was great. The holidays are huge for us usually. Again, I'm sorry, people, that you don't have a lot of snow to ski on, but I don't
Yeah,
care,
right?
because I haven't had to shovel snow.
Yeah.
So our central plant, our bill for November and December was $22,000 less than last year.
Wow. Is that because of no snow removal, or?
Yeah, we also, the price of gas went down a little bit,
Okay.
like about from last year it went down about 10 cents a therm, but it was mostly for the fact that we're not at any sort of record lows, but just
Yeah.
we were at such a record high last year.
Yeah.
Like by Thanksgiving last year, they had the whole mountain open. I mean, it was just so much snow.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
So-
right. And this year there's been the opposite.
Oh,
There's
just
been so
nothing. Yeah, it was
little.
just
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah. So we're finally getting our first. Oh, we had. I think we had like 3 or 5 inches early in
Oh, yeah.
December.
You
but
did. That's
there's-
right. Yeah.
But there's been nothing since
Yeah.
then, and it was. Oh yeah, it was when we were coming back from Thanksgiving. But it looks like this weekend we're finally going to get some snow, and a nice like 1 to 2 during the day, 1 to 3 at night, maybe
Yeah.
another inch or two later in the week. Fine, that I can handle.
Yeah.
And at least I'm healthy now, because I was just like, could you imagine like when I was in in that heavy pneumonia stuff and the pain, and if it was dumping snow?
Oh, man. Well, and it's harder to breathe in cold air too. Like you get shorter breath quicker. So I
It's funny, the cold air actually kind of, it didn't feel so bad.
maybe, is there a chance maybe it helps with inflammation? Maybe.
That's what I think. I think
Yeah.
it helped with the inflammation.
Because I know, like,
Yeah,
just
I think it
bringing
did.
the other day, bringing the groceries in, it was like, it was around freezing when I brought them in, and just from being in there enough, and I've tried, it's hard for me to breathe out of my nose, so when I can, I really try to like really focus on my breathing. So I was doing that while I'm doing things, trying to pace my breathing a little bit. And then when we got done, I was like, "Ooh, man!" I was like, I can feel that like cold in my lungs. That it's a little hard to breathe right now. And it wasn't that I was out there all that long. It's just I'm just not used to it because it hasn't been cold. Like
Yeah.
we've been above 40 or more almost every day this winter. I mean, it's gone down easily. They just posted a thing today. This December was the warmest December in where I live ever. And as far as snow goes, we don't typically get a ton of snow. I think for the month of December, through now, I think they said usually we have about like 10 inches of snow total by now.
Yeah.
And we've got nowhere near that. I mean, we've barely even gotten a dusting. You know, we haven't had a real snow. And there's a system that's going to come by us. But like I've talked before about how I live in a pocket to where things tend to go north or south of us. This one's going south. And we're going to get, you know, it's just enough to be like, oh, yeah, here's some snow, like someone throwing confetti at you. And then Tuesday, I think they're talking like maybe some freezing rain into snow. But even that, from what I've read, they're not talking like a lot, you know, and we've been real fortunate with it so far. I'm still, you know, it's one of those where you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, you know. It's like at some point we're going to get hit with like, okay, here comes 10 inches of snow.
That's it. Yeah, we've been joking that it's all going to happen at the end of March.
Yeah.
And then the mountain's going to close on April 15th.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had on the 28th, we had a high of 47 degrees at my work. I'm talking, we're at 6,000 feet elevation.
Right. That's crazy.
It was 47. It was 52 on December 20th.
Wow.
I was like, what?
Christmas Day here, it was over 60 degrees.
That's just nuts.
Yeah, right. That's why it was like
so
through the
funny.
week, you know, the weatherman kept going, you know, our chance for a white Christmas is like 5%. I'm looking at the forecast and I'm like, buddy, I'm seeing 60 on Christmas. I'm going to go ahead and move that to 0. The only chance we had was, you know, the way the weather is here is if it's warm in the day, there's nothing to keep it warm at night. So it'll drop into the 30s. So it's like, okay, well, if a system's coming through, we could have snow, but I'm like, I don't even see a system. Like, there's no rain even coming. It's just going to be dry.
So wild.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, like, you know, you're in shorts, or, you know, you could have been in a t-shirt and shorts on Christmas Day, you know, like that's insane for where I live or where you live, either way. Even in the 40s, that's warm, you know, like, you know, because we're built, you know, because we're used to colder weather. We, you know, so mid to high 40s is not cold to us, you know, it's tolerable. So, meanwhile, like when I said 60 on Christmas, you know, some of my friends out in California are like, "Oh my God, that's cold." I'm like, "No, that's like balmy here." What are you talking about?
Exactly. We're having a heat wave.
Yeah, like seriously, there were people in shorts and t-shirts. You know, I saw them on the news.
Yeah, the ultrasound. I've never had an ultrasound before, and that was trippy.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, it was interesting. I liked when at one point she stopped. She's like, "Oh wow, you're the second one this week," and I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Oh, your gallbladder's in the shape of a question mark." She's like, "I'm not." She's like, "There's nothing wrong with it. It's just weird that it was the second time." She's like, "The first time I looked at that and said, what the bleep is that?" And I just love the fact that the ultrasound tech just cursed in front of me.
Right.
But she would make me, you know, I'd have to take a breath and then hold it.
Yep.
And it was right at that edge of like where I don't know if I, you know, like I never coughed.
Yeah.
But there was like this tension point, and at least it's nice. Like now I can do that and it feels different. So I know I'm getting better.
Right.
Like in the big picture, I know I'm getting better.
Well, that's a really good way, because like when you know, like I'm sure you've had breathing treatments, right? Like where they give you the, I forgot what the stuff, albuterol or whatever it's called.
I actually never have.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what I'm talking about at least, right?
But yeah, I do.
So, you know, or like after somebody has open heart surgery, they give you this like plastic thing that you have to blow into.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, you have to
and
work
it's
it.
and the reason, like with open heart surgery, it's different because during open heart surgery, your lungs actually collapse.
Yes,
so they get your lungs back to normal, and then you have to strengthen them back up. Right. That's the point of that.
Yeah.
So same if you have really bad, like they give those sometimes to people who have pneumonia, colds, like if they're bad, because to help you strengthen your weakened lungs, you know. So it's like, and you know, you have to kind of hold that thing up, basically. Like that's the point of it, is to try to hold the breath and whatever. And it's amazing, like watching my dad after he had his open heart and he got that thing, and watching how hard it is to do it, you know, and we cleaned the thing off and I tried it and I'm like, this is harder than you think it is, you know? And I'm like, I wonder if you know, and I'm thinking I got pretty good lungs, But I'm like, I wonder if this is because, I have allergies and different stuff. So maybe my lungs they're good, but they're not as good as they could be. Like I remember hearing something years ago with a doctor that talked about how one of the reasons people should focus on their breath and learning how to breathe is because it can strengthen your lungs. And the stronger your lungs are, the better for a lot of reasons. So, like in the event of pneumonia or something like that, because if you're really strong lungs and then you get taken down a little bit, you're still strong. Similar to an athlete that has a leg issue, they recover better than someone who doesn't. So, that's why I had asked you before if they gave you one of those, because I was like, I'm kind of surprised that, so you're right, like being able to hold that breath is something that, like, my dad had a real hard time, and I don't mean the open heart stuff, but just when he had lung cancer, he had a really hard time holding his breath. He just didn't have the strength in his lungs to really hold it. So, that is a really good sign that you're able to do that, especially without coughing too, because I know that can be really hard. When you have a bad cold, it's hard to do, let alone something worse.
Yeah. That's been I think the thing is for me, just like my blood oxygen level's been really good throughout most of this. And if my breathing was like it was at my first doctor's visit, I bet I would have had a lot more, like the third doctor I saw, she said, "Did anyone give you an inhaler?" And I said, "No, not really, because I really didn't have shortness of breath."
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I'd have moments where it felt like it, but I really didn't. Like
Yeah.
I could actually,
Well, I think with the
wasn't-
albuterol and stuff, that's like a steroid. So I think the point of that is to help reduce the inflammation in your lungs, typically. So, but again, it's like I can also see why they wouldn't give that to you, because maybe it doesn't really help that scenario. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but it's like I said, it keeps getting better.
Good.
and I'm totally okay with not taking care of myself first and foremost. And
yeah, it's a good exercise in boundaries too, right?
Well, yeah, it really has been.
Yeah.
It's about making and then also like putting not completely, just because I mean I still have that like the FOGO. Like I want to be FOGO. I want to have a fear of going out.
Right.
Like sorry folks, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
But no, I'm going, all right, let me see what I can do. No. It's like I keep putting my toe in that water going, I'm not quite ready yet for that. and that's fine.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, as the better I get, the more motivated I am to do stuff around the house and all of that. Just everything that's happened, none of it has put me in a bad mental health state, and that's the amazing thing.
That's good. Yeah.
And that's where I really am. I have the most gratitude towards, and is that none of it's got me down. And even though I've had to do things differently, it's
not
I'm
all bad
totally
though,
okay
right?
with it.
Because like learning to be deliberate about what you do rather than like taking on everything that's around you really is better for us, for our mental health. Because when you try to take on everything, you tend to feel overwhelmed a lot more, and you can run yourself down doing just that. So being a little more deliberate with things isn't always a bad thing.
Well, it's also made a point to me that, and because I see this in one of my coworkers and some of my other friends who really rely heavily on their physical activity for their mental well-being.
Yeah.
When they can't do their physical activity, they go stir crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I see it.
Yeah.
There's anxiety and there's this mania that happens, and I have not felt any of it.
It's an addiction. I mean, essentially,
It is.
And you're having
It
a
essentially
withdrawal.
is.
Yeah.
And I'm really okay. I'm really happy that I don't have that.
Yeah.
And that I like it this way.
Yeah.
Do I need to get myself back into physical condition, better physical condition? Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. I mean,
but there's
if
a
I look
good
at my-
happy medium there though too, right? Like you don't have to go full tilt one way or the other, so.
No, I've been reading some stuff about people my age and what basically what I should be doing as far as physical activity.
Yeah.
And
Pilates in the pool and jazzercise.
Well, so I was reading about a lot of the myths.
Yeah.
And one of the big myths is that walking is going to keep you healthy.
Oh yeah.
It's not.
No.
It's not enough.
No, it doesn't
and-
hurt you as far as it's good, but it's not. Yeah, like you said, it's not fully enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you do need to do more,
Mhm.
and that like running's not going to break your knees down. That's been now proven wrong.
Yeah.
So
I,
wrong.
I think, like, to
For-
me, it's like the thing I see the most is like the people that I know that run a lot. They don't seem to gripe about their knees. It seems to be more about their feet and their ankles, because I think a lot of times, unless you're running on flat ground, you run the chance of, how it is. Like, even when you're walking, you roll your ankle a little bit, no big deal. You just keep going, kind of a thing. And I think that happens a lot with people when they run. Is they just roll their ankles a little bit and go, whatever, it doesn't hurt, and they just keep going. And maybe they don't let it heal right, so eventually it becomes a nag, kind of thing. But it's like, I don't know. Like I said, the people I've known that have run for years, they never seem to complain about their knees or their hips. It's always like their feet or their ankles.
Yeah, the one thing is stretching. A lot of people that run, they stretch.
Yeah.
The minute you stretch, you've weakened your muscle.
Yeah.
So it is just, I see it over and over and over again. If you want to stretch, do it afterwards.
Yes.
Or they actually tell you, do it when you're about to go to bed,
Yeah.
because your muscles are recovering.
Yeah.
The other myth that I've read about a little bit.
Plus,
when it came to,
real quick, but like a real
Yeah,
good
go
like
ahead.
stretching routine right before bed can be very relaxing too. Like if you did
Oh, yeah,
something like,
absolutely.
like whatever your stretch is, yoga or whatever it is, you just do that, and then that kind of puts you in that mind space because you're
It's like a
focusing.
meditation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Right.
That was the other part with that. That's don't hold stretches for a long time.
Yeah.
That's even the worst. Like if you hold it for a long time, you've definitely weakened your muscles. Then you go and start doing your workout. You're more prone to get injured,
Yeah.
and you're getting less out of your workout. That was fascinating.
Yeah.
One of the other ones was, and this has been known for a long time again, but it's just a proven fact that heavier weights does not give you bigger gains.
Right.
It just doesn't.
Right. Yep.
Lighter weights can do just the same amount.
Yeah.
And then the other one was, and I'd read about this for people that take a lot of ibuprofen, is that they're short circuiting their body's natural inflammation that creates healing.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes, and this has become really popular at my work because we have one now.
I was
cold
gonna say
dips.
the ice tubs. Yep. That's the hot
Like,
the hot thing on the internet is the ice tub dips.
You're basically you're negating your growth.
Yeah.
So you go to the gym, you do this heavy workout, and you jump in an ice tub. Well, you've just reduced the inflammation that actually tells your body to heal.
Right.
And right.
Yeah.
And I was always like, oh, this makes it resonates with me so much.
Yeah.
Because there's that little bit of if you have bad inflammation in a joint, put an ice pack on it.
Right.
But the rest of you doesn't need it.
No. Right.
Yeah.
It's different.
Now,
like a football player after a game. A lot of them get into an ice bath. I can understand that probably feels really good after getting pummeled for 3 hours.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, they're not looking to get mad gains from a game.
No. They
Right?
want to stop
That's
the
not their
swelling
point.
and
They-
yeah.
Like they need to not look like they're crippled when
Right.
they're 23 years old.
Yeah, exactly. Mhm.
So anyhow, the long and the short of this is twice a week, 20 minutes weights.
Yeah.
And then a certain amount of cardio activity.
Right.
And just more than walking.
Yeah.
And I mean, I walk at on treadmill, but I try to get my heart rate up to a certain level.
Right. It's a
And then
brisk
I'll-
walk, not just a casual walk. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I liked about this though is because, again, research, once you're in your 30s, you start losing muscle mass.
Yep.
And that the muscle maintaining your muscle mass is always more important than anything else.
Yeah.
That
Well,
it
and as guys,
actually-
we get hit two ways because not only do we lose muscle mass, but we also start significantly
Start
losing testosterone,
testosterone,
which helps us
exactly.
build muscle. So we
Yes.
not only do we lose it, but it's hard to rebuild because you have a lower
Yep.
testosterone level. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
that just gets
I-
worse as we age. The percentage
it.
goes up that we've lost.
And I thought it was good because this tends to be a topic at the beginning of the year, even though
Yeah.
I don't do that kind of level of
Yeah,
resolution.
right. We've talked
But it
about
is
that.
one of
Yeah.
those things where you go, okay, how do I get myself back into it without feeling like I have to like commit myself to this where I honestly don't want to.
That's actually
But I
great.
also,
I just I was thinking about this yesterday too, for the same reason, because I was like, I want to get moving again and get moving toward that kind of situation, because I'm not, like, again, like you were saying, all those reasons, right? I'm 45 and blah, blah, blah. Like the other day I was sitting in a chair, I went to get up, and I felt this really, like, I felt like someone stabbed me just below the kneecap in my left knee, and I couldn't put full weight on my left knee, and I'm like, oh no, because I'm thinking, did I just tear something? Because it hurt like crazy, and it hurt that way for a while, and even now, if I turn certain ways, it's still hurting, and it's been almost a week now, and it's like, I need to get myself to where those kind of things are less likely to happen, and
Yeah.
it's such an internet joke, but it's the truth, is that with age, your ability to injure yourself is higher. Things that didn't, if you fell when you were 20, most of the time you just get right back up. When you're 50 and you fall, it can be more catastrophic, or
Yeah.
be having diabetes, things don't heal, there's all these reasons and stuff, but I'm like, but I also need an entry point that doesn't feel like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to get this long list of exercises, let's, like, because I'm not going to do that. That isn't going to happen at this point. So I'm with you on that. Like, I feel like it's like I need an entry point that is accessible, that just gets me going, and then down the road, if I end up with the other stuff, cool, fine. But right now, that isn't going to work. That's too much too soon. Like, okay, I want to run. Okay, tomorrow's my marathon. It's like, nope.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be done in a week.
Yeah,
that's for
exactly.
me. I got my TRX thing back out again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, can I put aside, when I'm finally feeling healthier, can I put aside 20 minutes twice a week to do push-ups, bands, to work on my back, the TRX stuff, squats, blah, blah, blah. Can I come up with a basic thing that, yes, I can.
Yeah.
That is not a problem. In the morning when, I'm starting my day, I've got 20 minutes to do this twice a week. I have the time to do
Or
this.
if not, you feel like you can find that time. That's
I can
accessible.
find this time. That's the point.
Yeah.
I can make this time. And so that'll be my kind of goal as far as getting myself back into, getting my physical self. Because I don't want everything I keep reading about is it is a use it or lose it deal.
It is.
And
100%
and the less you do it, the more you start feeling those aches, and the less mobile you become.
Right.
And like it just spirals.
The two things I'm
I don't
like
want to.
watching people age that I really see that scare me is the losing balance, because you see people fall easier. So that's why they recommend a lot of times for older people to do yoga, tai chi, something along those lines that are a good balance kind of exercise, and strength, stretching, those kind of things. Because staying flexible is very important as you age, because arthritis and all that. And plus, just in general, like I said, if you go to fall, if you stay flexible, you're a little more likely to be able to kind of turn into the fall to protect yourself versus just going down like a sack of potatoes or something. And the other thing is just strength, right? Like I see, like even my mom's, like I see what she can't do physically now that she could do before. Or my brother, who's, about to turn 60, and he's always been one to stay in pretty decent shape. And I can see things that he can't do as much now that he used to do. And it's like, okay, I also need to, keep my grip strength up, keep, work out, just little stuff like that. Cause you don't realize how important grip strength is, until you watch someone who's older than you try to open a bottle, and I don't mean something that's on real hard, but something that like I can just go and open right away. You know what I mean? And you go, whoa, like I don't want to be at that point if I can help it. So I need to do things to keep the strength in my arms and hands and different stuff. And that's nothing ridiculous. Those are things that are not ridiculous. Like you don't have to go hit huge gains at the gym to be able to maintain those things. And those are what's really important for lifestyle. You know, now I'd like to lose weight for other reasons. That's a whole different thing. But also, like I said, I'd like to get more flexible because I'm finding myself, stiffer. Like when I wake up in the morning, and you know how it's like, I almost like when I sit up in bed, I have to stretch before I get out of bed. Like all those kind of things. And it's like, I'm feeling my age. And it's like, and I'm not naive in that it's like, oh, well, I have to fend it off. But I'm also like, I don't want this to get worse. Or if it does, I want to delay it as much as I can, within reason. Obviously, you can't, age is undefeated. It's no one's ever beaten it. But I'm with you on a lot of that stuff. So I've been doing the same thing, trying to figure out ways that I can do it. Because like my knee thing really bothered me because I was thinking about, like what I am to the household at that point, right? Like I'm the one that brings in groceries. I take out the trash. Like I do the heavy lifting here. So I need to be able to continue to do that stuff. And, I already have, like that knee already was a problem for me a little bit where I tore a meniscus years ago, but it's been pretty good. So it's like, I don't want this to become a weakness now. I don't want to lose my knees. So, yeah.
Well, how about you? How's your last couple weeks been?
Christmas Eve stunk. I woke up, thought I had something. I woke up and basically I was like soaking wet, like thought I had a fever. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
And I was like, oh no, because you know how it is. You don't typically get a fever unless you're sick, And so I got up. I told my mom. I said, hey, I'm not going to go tonight to the family thing because I'm not feeling good. Like I'm run down. I'm still like feeling a little like chilled, and I was like, I don't want to risk getting anybody sick, in case this is something more than just like a cold or some minor thing. And I just stayed in bed almost all day. I didn't get out of bed till about 9:30 that night, and I was like, I got to get up and eat. I just have to. It's like I'll go, like see what I have that's maybe in a can or something like that, just pop it in the microwave and eat. And I got up, used my neti pot. I had already taken some medicine because I had just tons of congestion in my head. And then after getting up, using the neti pot and different stuff, I was feeling a little bit better. And then the next day, I felt a lot better. And I was like, you know what it is, I think I just had a lot of stuff in my sinuses. And I don't think it was an infection, but I think it was kind of like, I think my body was reacting like it was an infection. And I think that's why I had the fever and different stuff. Because I don't know if you've ever had that, like where you're just so congested that it like your head's on fire and it hurts. And once I, a couple uses of the neti pot and stuff, after that, it really seemed to help. And I ended up, using it a couple times a day for a couple days to kind of clean me out. And around that time, I also completely ran out of my Zyrtec. On Christmas Eve, I took my last one, and I'm like, oh no, I don't have one it was the day before Christmas Eve, I think. So it was like, and when I realized that on Christmas Eve, it was too late to go to the pharmacy.
Wow.
All the stores were already closed for the night. And I'm like, no. And I was like, everybody's closed tomorrow, basically, because it's Christmas. I was like, oh, so I got to go without for a couple days. Usually I have like my prescription, and I usually buy a bottle and just keep it as a backup. And I didn't realize I had used up my backup. So I was like, oh no. So that didn't help either, But so yeah, I think all it was just a real bad sinus congestion. Maybe it was a bit of an infection, but I don't think so. Those don't usually go away on their own. Usually you got to go get some medicines for it. But, and I think it was just because that weather was so... across that week, it went from like 40 up to 60 by Christmas, and all that. So thank goodness. I felt like garbage Christmas Eve. Christmas Day, I felt better, but still was eh. But then after, like later on Christmas Day, I started feeling pretty close to normal again. And I was like, okay, good. This is, also I'm like, my throat was a little itchy, and I was like, should I do a COVID test? Kind of, I was hitting that point. And I think the reason my throat was itchy was I was so congested, I was just snoring like a maniac. So that's probably why my throat was so sore, was from snoring, or sinus draining, So yeah, that was not fun. But New Year's Eve was good. It was quiet. We just it was just my mom and I just hung out here, and I had a couple offers to go do other stuff, but I just didn't really feel like it. It's not New Year's Eve's just not a big deal to me anymore. Back when I drank, it was a little different, because it was like, hey, let's get together and get stupid, because it was, like no different than any other night. But
Yeah.
when we hung out, but it was, this one had noisemakers and hats, so we. But I didn't have a drink or anything like that. Just not a. I'm not a drink by myself person anyway, really. I've got stuff here. I've got some whiskeys and stuff. I just don't do it very often by myself. It feels weird to me, Like for a long time, that was always in my head. That was that sign. That was always the red flag of you need to slow down or you might need help. Are you drinking by yourself? So that was for me. I don't put that on anybody else, but in my head, that was the thing, because I always remember watching on TV where every day that the husband came home he had to have his scotch or whatever, and I was just like, I don't know about that. Like it just never registered to me as normal behavior. So but yeah, it was fine. And I had therapy the other day, and it was kind of weird because I had one of those days where I went in and I just didn't feel like my head was very clear. So I don't really know that it was that productive of a therapy session. I feel like it was more dump than it was solutions-based.
Gotcha.
But that's okay. They don't all have to be solutions-based. But it was, I kind of felt like, I like walking out of there. I felt lighter, but I think it was just because I trauma dumped rather than, I did talk to her about a few things, but it was, but it was still good. I'm glad I did it and all that kind of stuff. And next week, or this coming week, I have my final filling scheduled at my dentist office.
Oh, wow.
That should hopefully take care of the last one, as long as I haven't, come up with any new ones. But that'll be for a future visit to find out. So, I'll be glad to have that done, and then I don't have to, then all I have to do is worry about when my next cleaning is, which won't be for a while, 4 or 5 months probably, because I just had it done, was it November or December, so got a little time on that. But yeah, that's been about it. Haven't done a whole lot. Last time I talked on here, like I was selling some stuff on eBay. That is completely dried up. Now that Christmas is over, I have sold like 2 things since it is really dried up, which sucks because, you go from having money kind of coming in and then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, okay, time to tighten up again, and, it sucks because it puts me back in that scarcity mindset,
Yeah.
whereas I had a good month where I didn't have that, which is nice. And I'm not down to nothing, but it's like I'm at that point where I'm for sure going to tighten it up to make sure I'm not immediately down to nothing type of thing, But luckily I don't go do a whole lot either, so there's that. But yeah, it was nice. It was cool. And Christmas, my mom doesn't go out to stores much anymore. She hasn't since COVID, really. Like, it's more that than it has been anything. And so she's like, I feel so bad because I don't have anything for you to like open, or there's not really anything under the tree because I don't get out, So a few weeks ago I had mentioned I had made a frozen pizza that was like a rising crust one, so it had a pretty thick crust on it, and I'm using our pizza cutter, and it's one of those real small wheel ones. And it's just a pain because the crust is like higher than the pizza cutter, so it's hard to really cut the crust with it. And, I could have got a chef's knife out. I didn't bother, and I was like, what I need is one of those like rockable ones that pizza places use,
Yeah.
Yeah, so on Christmas, she's like, oh, hey, here, there's a gift for you. I'm like, there is? So I open, and the size of the box, I had also mentioned a couple days before, or a week before, or something like that, that I really wanted some like turtles, like the chocolate turtles or
Yeah.
pecan delight type things.
Yep.
And the box looked like a box of those. And I'm thinking, oh, cool, she got me a box of candies, and I like those because, like I talked last time, one of my favorite things this time of year is, having the treats that I don't have the rest of the year, So I open the thing up and I see that it's this pizza cutter. And I was like, oh, and she goes, did I get the wrong one or is this the wrong? I'm like, oh, no. I'm like, I love it. I'm like, I just, in my head, when I saw the box, I'm thinking it was chocolate. So when I opened it, I was kind of like, oh, meaning more like I'm surprised it's not chocolate. And it registered as ew, basically, instead. And I was like, no. I was like, I'm really, I love it. And I've used it a couple times now. I have these real thin, like, plastic cutting boards that are like ones you can roll up and different stuff. And I was just saying a few weeks ago, I need to get new ones because the one is kind of old. And when I used it the first time, this blade's so sharp, I went right through the the plastic cutting board.
Nice.
I was like, well, I guess now I have to get new ones because I got to throw this one out. But yeah, it works great. It's exactly what I wanted because, I can put a little weight on it and just crunch right through the crust the way I want. Even though I'm not a big fan of unitaskers, and it is a unitasker, but whatever, But yeah, it was cool, because she definitely surprised me with it. I didn't expect it, It's weird that of all the things that I will offhandedly be like, I should get this, or I just never pulled the trigger on it. And they're not terribly expensive. I just never bothered. It's like I've mentioned it for probably a couple years now off and on that I should get one of those. So now I don't have to. I've got one now. And it works great. I'm very happy with it. But it's always cool when somebody can give you something and you get to see the joy they get from you getting joy from it.
Yes,
You know what I mean? It's always cool when that happens too, because you never know when you give a gift. There's plenty of times where you give something and you're like, I hope they like it, because of how a lot of us don't communicate real well about gifts. And so yeah, that was cool though. And even though it wasn't, it's and me, it's like it doesn't. I've always been one of those. It doesn't take a massive dollar amount to give me joy in a gift. I appreciate all sorts of things. Like I mentioned, Tony got me. We talked on the podcast about. I saw a set of. I collect shot glasses, and there were toilet shot glasses, right? And he found some and gave me one for Christmas, and I was like, and I absolutely loved it, right? Because it's like this is one of my long-time collections. I don't go for all shot glasses. I just like different ones, and I saw those and was like, oh man, I need one of those, because that's so different and whatever. And I love stuff like that. Or like the year you gave me that book on, what was it? The Last Words of Famous People or something. And that was such a fun read. And it was just a little book, but it was like, but it was so cool because like, it was something that it's like, knowing me, that's something that I would think is really cool. Right. It's like that, those are the things, that's how you hit with me is you go, this is why I thought you would like it. And usually I'm like, that's awesome. And me, I'm appreciative anyway of whatever anyone gets me, cause I don't expect anything. So it was, really cool to hit that. And it was also fun, watching her open what I got for her and stuff. So I always like that, So yeah, that was good. And I went out a couple times with, over the last few weeks. Went out with Tony one night, and I don't remember who I went with the other one. Because Jeannie and Jen was like, I think before we recorded last time. I went out with somebody else. Anyway, but I went out a couple of times, and which for that time of year is not something I like to do.
Oh yeah.
Because typically anywhere you go is just crazy.
Yeah.
Like obviously, like I don't even like going to the stores. I don't like going to, like grocery store even. It's like I try to avoid and all that stuff. But I actually went into a few stores, and they really weren't terrible this year. They were busy, but not like, oh my God, I have to get out of here busy, type of thing. And and like Tony and I, we went to the brewery up the street, and then we were like, let's go grab something to eat. And the place we went to, we get partway over that way, and we're like, oh no, it's not that far from the mall. It's the Friday, Friday before Christmas.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, oh, this place is gonna be slammed. And we get over there, it was like, I don't know, 8:30, 9 o'clock, and it was not even busy. Like
That's great.
2 guys at the bar, there were people at a table near the bar, and like I hardly saw anyone else. So it was like, this is exactly the vibe I need right now. Real chill, we can talk and hear each other. They put on one of the guys that was there asked if they would put on the Red Wings hockey game, so we got to watch the Wings play a crazy game where they were up like 3 goals and had to go to overtime and a shootout to win it because the other team caught them. Yeah, it was a wacky game. But so it was really relaxing and cool, and those are always nice because those are a good recharge. Even though I kind of feel depleted afterwards, it's that good. Like you were saying about coming home from work feeling good, It was that same kind of thing. Is that like some social things, when I get done, I'm just like I need quiet. I just need recharge, and then there's some where you're just like I need recharge, but I also feel really good, and I'm glad I went. Like you said about going and playing music, and whatever, how, it's like there's times where our brain will lie to us and be like, you don't want to do that.
Totally.
That's you won't enjoy it. And then you go and you enjoy it and you're like, you son of a, how dare you lie to me? But that's what it does. So good stuff though. Yeah. It's been mostly good though. I was really kind of looking back at the year, at the end of the year there, and it's been this way for a while, but I see people online pushing, it was like New Year's Day and people are like, 2024 sucks. And I'm like, listen, I get it. Bad things happen to all of us, right? But if you go into the year thinking it's going to suck, it's going to suck. I mean, there's just no other way to look at that. And I'm not Johnny Positive. It's just the idea that, like, if you are looking for bad stuff, you're going to find it. You're going to find it. So why not go into the new year with, like, a better attitude about the stuff? Leave. If 2023 was bad, I'm sorry. Leave it in 2023. Like, try to leave what you can back there. It's different if it's something ongoing, but if it's something that happened in 2023, like, make 2024 like your launch pad away from that. Say, okay, 2023 was a rough stepping stone on my way to happiness or whatever, and try to move in a different direction. I just can't get over how many people, I just see so many people looking for negativity in the world now. And it doesn't feel, and I know that it's always been that way, but I feel like it's just worse. Like, I just see more and more people doing it, and I get it. There's a lot going on in the world right now, but also, just because things are heavy in the world doesn't mean that it also has to be heavy in your life. You can kind of choose what you carry in those scenarios a little bit too. And I'm not meaning be dismissive of what's going on in the, like in Israel or anything like that, but you also don't have to carry all of that, because you can't individually change that, and I, like I said, I don't mean to be cold or dismissive of it, but if it's weighing that heavily on you, maybe look at other ways of lightening that load a little bit or something, learning what you can control, basically. Like, see, if you want to help, do what you can to help, and then there's not much else you can do, My therapist was just telling me she's had quite a few people talking to her about that because they want to help, they want to do all this stuff, and she's like, you do have to understand, what size you are, basically. Like, can you can't influence, like, you can't make a policy change. So you don't have to, but again, you can look at other things you can do to help. And same with any other problems around, like through the holidays, a lot of the local news likes to show a lot of, like, the food banks and homeless shelters and all that kind of stuff. They're doing great work, helping where they can and all that. But it's like, you just watch it and go, it's not enough. There's still starving people. There's still, but it's like, you can't you can't literally feed every person. You can't home every person. You can't, like as much as you'd love to be able to just cut that check and be like, okay, here we go. It's all fixed. It's just, so you have to kind of scale what you're carrying around on you, I guess, so yeah. But one thing that cracked me up a little bit was I saw the other day, my sister posted a thing about the jar with like putting whenever something good happens to you.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And she was mentioning, she's like, isn't this a great idea? And I'm like, yeah, I can tell you don't listen to my podcast because I've seriously mentioned that almost every year around New Year's for how many years now, and I was, I said, it is a great idea though. Yeah. And my therapist actually put one out too in her office. She has one. And I don't know, what I didn't ask her was, I don't know if that's for her or for her patients. So I don't know, what the scenario is there. Because it'd be interesting if you had your patients put it in there, because it's like, you pull out someone else's thought, maybe? Like, this would be an interesting exercise here.
It's funny.
But, yeah, I just, so far trying to show empathy and kindness where I can. And it's not that hard, really, because I've been trying for so long now. There's moments where it's really hard, where you're trying so hard to look at something and be like, I need to be kind here. I need to be kind here. Like you're just like, I can't find it.
That's funny.
But yeah, but otherwise, yeah, so far, so good. Yeah, best year ever, right?
I've been, my typical barometer is what's my attitude as I'm driving to work. With the cars around me.
Yeah.
Am I just chill, like I'm just going to work, or am I focused on what everybody else is doing around me?
Yeah.
I'm in a good balanced spot, it feels like.
Right. Well, good.
So that's kind of going with my how I'm at work too. Like I feel like I'm starting the day the right way, which is like I'm not in a race. It's not a competition. I'm just driving to work.
Yeah.
And same thing on my way home. It doesn't matter, who cares, like I don't care how, what line I'm in at the grocery store. And
yeah.
Like, I'm like, those are all good spots to be in.
Right. Well, it's funny too, because you see sometimes, and like trying really hard not to compare myself to others. That's something I've struggled with for years, right? Mainly because of like art is where that really started for me, but also in school, because literally school teaches you to compare yourself to other students because they dote on the students that are the teacher's pet kind of situation. So other students want to be that. So you end up in a competition or feel you're in a competition, right? But even if you get past that, but it's funny, excuse me, seeing things because our brain wants to, here's the example. Okay. So we go to get our groceries yesterday. They were behind, which fine, it happens. So we went a little later. And when we get there were two employees bringing out the groceries. One was a dude who looks like he's probably in his mid-20s or so. And the other employee looks like she's maybe 18, maybe, right? Like if she's older than that, I'd be shocked because she just has she still has that girl look to her, not like starting to become a woman kind of look to her, if that makes any sense. Like in her face, right? Like she's still got the kind of youth that you see drain out of everyone's face. No, but she was, I mean, as soon as that door opened, she's like, boom, lickety split, coming out of there with fire. Boom, get to your car, bang, 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 have a nice day, boom, up, right back. I mean, just as fast, right back up into the place. And I mean, just busting her hind end, right? Meanwhile, the guy comes out and, he's walking at just a normal pace, He's the guy that you look at and go, he's the guy that understands that he's getting paid by the hour. She looks like she's getting paid by the load, And, but you can't compare him because you don't know. Maybe dude's got a bad knee. Maybe he's kind of sick. Maybe he's already been there all day and she just came in. So she's coming in with that fresh energy. Meanwhile, he's already been there 8 hours, like you don't know the scenario, right? But on the surface, you want to go, man, he needs to pick it up because she's making him look real bad. She's pulling out like 3 cartloads to his 1. But you can also very much go, he's working smarter in this scenario. Because he's only coming out 1 time while she's hauling 3 out. But like I said, you don't know the whole story, so you can't make an adequate assessment of what's going on there, But it's just kind of funny because, you see her and you're like, she's the kind of employee the company wants for sure, because it's like, you want the ones that'll come in and work like that. I mean, it's like, man, I hope if she works like that for her whole shift, that's an insane level to continue, Like, she probably does need to, probably dial it down a little bit. But, she's young. They got all that energy. Probably don't have the bad knees that us old-timers have. So,
that's great.
Yeah, but I think it's a good example of, like I said, seeing 2 people doing the same task at much different speeds.
Yeah.
And you could easily judge him or her, I guess, either way, but you could judge one or the other and maybe be way off in the scenario, because you don't really know. Or maybe when he goes back in, maybe he's doing other stuff and she's not. Maybe her only job is bring stuff out. Maybe he's got another part of a job or something. You don't know, right? So, but like I said, it was funny sitting there though, because I immediately seeing him in my head, I'm going, man, they're behind, and he's coming out like no care in the world, and she's coming out looking like she understands they're behind, But
it's funny.
Yeah. So, and as the customer, you want her. Like, you want that, like, come on, let's go. I want to get my stuff and get out of here, But it also gives you a little bit of a lesson that's like, what are you in such a hurry for? Like, what do you get home 5 minutes sooner? Like, what is, what's the rush here? So, yeah. Anyway, well, I think we should move into our
power words.
Power words, yeah, which I'm glad you remembered because I had completely forgotten about them.
Well, I'm ready. I got mine for this year, so I'm gonna review last year. Well, why don't we do all 3 of ours from last year?
Right.
So
Okay.
So mine was flow, which I think kind of goes with. I think it worked for me. I think I did flow through the year. I really feel like as the changes came through, I didn't fight too much. I definitely struggled with. I definitely struggled, but I think with some fighting my especially with the music stuff. There's still something working out there, but it was kind of funny when I think about it. It's like no, but I just went with it still. So
Yeah,
I'm
right.
like, okay, so it worked, and then. Jen chose independence, and she's not here, but like you and I already talked about, it's like kind of nailed that one.
Yeah, I really wanted to mention that. I know she probably won't listen, but it's the idea that for anyone who's been around for a long time with us or whatever and remembers, Jen talking about different stuff she went through this past year when she was on the show. I really do feel like she's been on that path and really pushed on that path to where she's tried really hard to be her own person finally, and it's pretty awesome,
Yeah, when we haven't talked in a little while, but just following her social media, it's it's really strong.
It's
that.
a different level of confidence in her than I've ever seen. Yeah. So I feel like she nailed it or is nailing it, even though it hasn't been easy. There's been a lot of upset and rough points through this, but sometimes that's what change is. You got to have some rough patches, and then you emerge from the other side. So
that's it.
Yeah.
And see, yours was clarity.
Okay. I can't remember why I
feel
picked
about
clarity. I mean, I do feel like there's a lot more in my life where I really, as situations happen, I do sometimes kind of feel like I don't want to say like outside my body, but kind of like where you can see it coming a little bit, You know, almost like you get a little preview in your head.
Oh yeah.
And I
I know
kind
what
of
you
feel
mean.
like I'm getting more of that. So as far as clarity in that regard goes, I think I've been doing pretty well because there's been a lot this year that I've kind of felt and seen coming. I don't feel like most of the times I've been in depressive episodes this year, I feel like most of them I've kind of felt and seen coming. I don't feel like I got ambushed by as many this year. I did have one really bad patch that caught me out of nowhere, but I feel like in the past more things like that hit me, blindsided me a little more than I feel like they did this year. If that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, I think I did okay with it. Always something to keep working on though, because I still want to understand why I do things so that I can act how I want to act in the going forward. You know, and understand why I behave the way I do sometimes. You know, for better or worse.
Well, I think that's where you get that, or at least in my experience, is that the more I understand some of my core reactions to situations, the more I can see it before it happens.
Yeah.
You know, like the more I become in touch with it, and really get a chance to practice that. You know,
And
like
it
you're talking
allows
about.
it allows you to be better with your communication as well. You know,
Yeah.
like because if I can see something's kind of coming or whatever, then I can communicate. Like, hey, I'm really starting to feel depressed here. Like I can feel this coming on. I can then talk to somebody and make sure other people know where I am, so that whether it's that they'll check in or just so they know, hey, maybe I won't be reaching out to you the way I did or something, and this is why, kind of a thing. You know, so I think
And
it helps in that regard too.
my thing is that it usually prevents me from putting my foot in it.
Yeah, right.
Although you know what, I'll tell you what, this year I sure did put my foot in it a lot at work. But you know what, I took it. I think I handled it pretty well. I did. I was just honest about it,
Yeah,
and I tried to be open, and I apologized just right. You know, where I
yeah.
needed to apologize, and I owned it, and that felt really good.
Mhm.
And nobody up. The best part is that nobody is held being honest and giving a forthright apology and owning my stuff against me.
I
Nobody's
think
ever held it
I
against
think,
me.
and a lot of that I think comes from. I mean, first of all, from knowing a person for a while, that helps because you can kind of gauge their intent a little bit, you know. But also, it's like if people think you're honest, but not coming from a place of harm, and then you apologize, I think most of us will give those people room, you know.
Yeah.
But when you feel someone's just a jerk to be a jerk, and then you go, they apologize, and now you're going, is that a sincere apology? Because you're a jerk, you know. Like I feel like the space gets closed quickly when they feel like you're not coming from a place of love or what, or if they feel like you're coming from a place of malice type of a situation. And I think
Or
that's
even
probably
just
it with
trying to-
you. You know, everyone knows the reason. If you're short, you're not doing it to be a jerk. You're doing it because it affects the job, or like it's more of a like, no, that's not logical. That's not this. And then apologize if someone gets hurt in the process.
I just was just not professional.
Yeah.
Times, and
Well,
it's
that
like,
happens too. Yeah.
Okay. I just
But that's not.
yeah.
But that's not you on a normal basis. You know, if you were that way all
No,
the
it-
time, yeah,
Exactly. It's not.
right.
Yeah. And
We
the
all
other thing
have bad
it's
days. Is kind of what I was getting at, right? Like we all have a situation, and it's like, hey, if they apologize, whatever. We all, like you said, we all step in it. Everybody's done it. You know, we'll all do it
And
again.
what bothers me most with other people is when right away they want to deflect on it.
Yeah.
And the people that just sit there and instantly own it, that it always goes better.
I always have had more respect for
does.
somebody that just owns it right away, man. That's like I said, I had that aha moment years ago at the one video store I worked at where when things didn't happen, we had a manager that always had an excuse. And it bugged me to no end. And my DM, I could always tell he was just angry. And when they finally got rid of that guy, you could tell the DM was happier about it, right? And in my head, I'm going, I'm just going to be honest with him. So the first time there was some shipment we had to get out, we missed the deadline on it. And it's kind of a big deal because those videos were going to a new store for its opening. And I missed it. We missed it by a day. And he called me, and I mean, I took the butt chewing because it was coming, right? Can't get out of the way of it. And I told him, I said, here's what happened. This is why. It will not happen again because, I will make sure it doesn't. And here's blah, blah, blah. And he goes, cool. He's like, that's all I needed to hear. And he's like, I'm sorry I had to, chew your butt, basically. And I was like, nope, we had it coming.
Nope.
No apologies needed. No hard feelings. He came in a couple days later, like nothing happened. We got along great. Down the road, whatever else, happened that was whatever, he'd call. I'd tell him exactly what was going on. This is why. This is how we'll fix it. And he was like, cool, that's all I need to hear. Never had a problem with me before. And told me on my one review, he's like, I love the fact that you just shoot me straight. We screwed up. This is why, and it won't happen again. And he said, and to your credit, it doesn't happen again. And I was like, yeah, I learned from the mistake. We didn't schedule appropriately with the pulling movies for that thing, so we were short-staffed, and it was a weekend, and we needed one more person on there. That was on me. I should have seen that coming and put another person in there, and I didn't, So told them how I'd fix it. Next time it happened, brought in another employee, and that was their job. Fill this order. That was it. No waiting on customers, no nothing else. You're a ghost, basically. You fill this. That's it. I mean, don't be rude to customers, you know what I mean? But it's like, you're not on the register, you're not putting movies away. Like, you're doing this. And he was like, I appreciate that. He's like, you're one of the only people that do that. And I was like, yeah. And I've kind of just done that from then on. It's just so much easier to just say what it is, like what happened, apologize if apology is necessary, or here's what I'm going to do, and then do it. Let your actions speak. And people tend to be really forgiving. And I mean, they kind of forget what happened, and I don't mean in any sort of a bad way. They just kind of are like, they don't keep bringing it up because you don't keep doing the same behavior.
Well, that's it. Yeah,
your apology
and
feels
also
genuine and your actions show so,
Yep. And you're just trying, you move through it. You're not avoiding it, but it just, like my review went great this year. And even when we got to the difficult stuff, we got through it pretty quick.
Yeah.
And it was fair. I don't,
Listen, I've always said that. It's like, if I got a butt chewing coming, I'll sit and take it. There's times in life where you just have to take one. It's just it's coming and you just got to take it, but do you learn from it? Do you grow from it? Those kind of things. Like, if you made a mistake, what can you do to make sure that you don't get that same butt chewing down the road? You may get a different one, but don't get the same one over and over again, That tells me you haven't learned anything. Or you don't care, one or the other, And either way, I'm probably not going to keep you around very long. So, okay. So, so I think we did all right on our words for last year. So what do you got? Good. What do you got for this year?
All right. So this year I'm going with joy.
Okay.
And it's from the standpoint of the idea of when you're looking at things that you have, are they bringing you joy?
Okay.
And it could be anything. It could be a thing. It could be an activity. And I think that's what I want to focus on. And where my inspiration for this came from, believe it or not, a thing, and it was about clearing out. So I bought this really fancy, expensive mixer last year, and I have not used it.
By mixer, you're meaning for audio recordings, not like a KitchenAid. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm just clarifying for anyone listening.
A digital mixer, a digital mixing board.
Right.
And I already have one. This one's just bigger and does everything.
Sure.
And it does all the things. It's amazing, right?
Okay.
It's a gearhead's dream.
Well, I can tell because people won't see this, but as you're talking about it, you're like beaming about it.
Yes, it does everything.
Yeah.
But sitting in its case, having been used 3 times.
Yeah.
Does not bring me any joy. Now, granted, when I was considering selling it and I pulled it out to kind of clean it up and see what I had on there, I was like, and I plugged it in, and I had to wipe out all the stuff that was in there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, this thing's amazing. Like,
Right.
it's really amazing. But there's something else, and I haven't bought a new guitar amp in, I mean, well over a decade.
Same.
Like, it's been a long time.
Yeah. I haven't bought one since like 97, I think is the last time I bought one. Yeah.
So there's this sound that I like,
Yeah.
and I've never owned an amp that does the actual amp that is designed for the sound, and I find myself always back at the sound, and I'm like, and I don't have one of these amps. I never have. I had some kind of close footer was, and there's a new one that's come out, and I just fell in love with it, and I was like, whatever. I'm not going to spend that much money on an amplifier. And then the guy dropped the price. I was watching one on Reverb, a used one, and he dropped the price like $500.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
like, now I have to get it.
So here's the funny part about it is, it was when I was down in Boise, and I'm going back to the hotel room to get ready, and I saw that the price dropped, and I went over and I looked at the thing, just the photos, and I went, you know what? That is going to bring me so much more joy than a digital mixer
Right.
that does all the cool routing so you can make live music happen. And I was like, no, I want to walk into my house, see my really freaking cool amp,
Yeah.
grab my guitar,
Yeah.
and be inspired. Does this mixer inspire? No. So mixer, you're getting sold, right?
Okay.
And it just made me go, okay, what's bringing me joy?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that is, I have some things that there's things that I'm committed to do that that I want to do them, but when I'm not doing them and I think about them, they give me anxiety.
Right.
But then when I go do them, it does bring me joy.
Okay.
And so, and that is where I'm been trying to kind of marinate where I feel with the music stuff. That's really what it's coming down to. I listened to this guy on TV talk about these, 4 things that you should be avoiding, or that instead of making resolutions, like, why don't you try to avoid, focus on these things in your life. And
Yeah.
and he went through faith, family, friends, and work, meaning work where you're serving somebody else.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But when the friends thing, he said this one thing, he said, deal friends. And I was like, rewind, pick up my phone, record.
Yeah.
Because that keeps coming back for me, is I feel like I have certain relationships that are based on a deal.
Okay.
And it's obvious that that's what it is.
Okay.
All of our relationships are based on exchange.
Yes.
Right.
Right. We give and we
my-
get. That's what makes a good friendship. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of the strongest relationships in my life are based on exchange.
Yeah.
And they give me so much joy.
Yeah.
And except for the ones where it feels like there's a bargain being struck all the time,
Right.
they are not bringing me joy.
Right.
So that's where I'm looking at, is like going, okay, some, I know it brings me joy and what doesn't. And that's, I'm hopefully going to keep that word in the forefront, and it's going to apply with me, simplifying my life, whether it's in activities or stuff.
Yeah.
And that what I end up with is something that where it excites me, and I want to do it, and it brings me happiness and joy.
What's interesting is, real quick, piggybacking on the last part of that, was I saw somebody post on Twitter that was like, remember, you don't have to bring everyone into 2024 with you.
That's a great one.
And I was like, that's a really
love
strong
that.
line, that kind of like, if people are dragging you down, leave them behind, basically.
Yeah.
If they find their way back into your life, then that's fine,
So be
because
it.
so many people have a hard time understanding how not everyone you meet is supposed to be in your life forever. Sometimes people are only going to be there for 5 years or a year or 3 months or whatever it is, and that's
And that's
it.
okay.
And other people
Yeah.
might be there a long time, like me and Jen were in a relationship for almost 14 years. And when we decided to split, a lot of people are, oh, you're throwing it away. It's like, we're not throwing anything away. We still had all those years that we enjoyed with each other. We're just going different directions now. That's all that is. Like we're still in each other's lives, but it's like, a lot of times people miss that with marriages and stuff. And it's like, no, sometimes relationships just run their course. Sometimes it happens. It's okay. And sometimes I've had a couple of friends I've talked with this year already that have left some people behind in 2023 because those people have shown that they're not really their friends, that they're conditional friends. And not, and it's pretty awful, honestly, when you realize that about somebody, that they're a conditional friend. And it's hard to leave, especially if it is someone you've been friends with for 20 years or whatever it is. It's hard to just cut ties, but sometimes it's best for everyone's mental health, and both sides don't have to pretend anymore. You both kind of lose your burden in that scenario. And if there's somebody who really wants to be your friend, they'll also pursue it. Like, they'll want to know why, and then maybe you can have a conversation. Maybe that's a point you need to rekindle. It's really weird you mentioned that about joy, because through Christmas, a couple of the things I sold were, I had a few action figures that I've had for a long time, and they're valuable, and I didn't really want to sell them because I'm like, I really like these. These are things that blah, 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 I really was happy to get those and all this. And it's funny because I've sold them, and now I found myself going, I haven't thought about them once. So now my brain already was in that mindset, kind of like, what else is there? Not that I need to sell all my stuff, right? But in the same regard of your mixer to amp scenarios, it's like, are there things that I want that I don't get or have avoided because I've held on to other things that I could have turned into that, right? So there's that level of things. Like, I've said before, I keep looking at like my Funko Pops. I have a lot of them, and there's some of them that are valuable, and it's like, I don't know that those are the ones that are necessarily bringing me the most joy. And it's like, am I hanging on to them just so I can look to see if they go up in value? You know what I mean? Like, is that the reason I keep them? Because if so, what's the point there, really? Especially when I'm, like I just mentioned a little bit ago, I'm in a scarcity mindset so frequently that if I could just sell some of these others, maybe I can extend my period of not being in scarcity mindset, which is a relief or joy, because it gives me joy that I, like I told you before, if someone calls me and says, hey, do you want to go blah, 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 and I can go, sure, versus, right? So is it hacky if I also pick joy?
No.
Because I kind of feel like I've been kind of, how like when somebody's in the starting blocks of a race and they get twitchy, like they false start because they get a little too twitchy. I feel like I'm getting a little twitchy in that I feel like I've been staying in place so long that I feel like I need to move, but I don't want movement to be the word because I don't think it's the right word for this year. But I feel like I need to find, like you said, whether it's things that bring me joy, experiences that bring me joy, or finding old joys, whether it's, if it happens to be like drawing or something, like, getting things that used to bring me joy and see if they still do bring me joy. And if not, cut bait with the idea that I have to keep going back to those things. Right? I did that for a long time with bowling. I love bowling. I always have since I was a little kid. Right? My dad did it, and I wanted to bowl because I wanted to be, like him. And unfortunately, we got to bowl in a league together, but never in the same team together. like one time, and that was cool, but it wasn't the same. You know, I always wanted to be able to bowl with my dad, but he hurt himself and really couldn't. So, and then I got to a point to where I hurt myself and was kind of, I've hurt a couple of things. You know, I tore that meniscus I've previously mentioned. I don't know if I tore, but I definitely strained very badly the what is it? The ulnar ligament, I think it's called. The inside right next to your elbow, on the inside of your arm.
I know which one. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I threw a ball and I felt a pop, and it burned and hurt. And even now, if I'm on the computer too much or use my right arm too much for anything, it burns for days. So it's like I hit a point to where I'm like, okay, if I go bowl, that left knee bothers me a little bit, and that's my plant leg. And that arm, I throw with my right arm, even though I'm left-handed, I throw with my right arm. And that ligament hurts for days after I bowl, right? So I hit a point where I'm like, bowling brings me great joy, but it also brings me 3 days of recovery.
Pain.
Is this still worth it, right? And eventually I hit a point to where I was like, you know what? I think I'm probably done. As a league bowler, I'm done. Now, that's not to say that maybe occasionally I couldn't, dust the stuff off and go out and throw a couple games or something. But as far as doing it week to week, it's like, I think I'm done, right? It doesn't, the joy it brings me does not outweigh the pain it brings me. So, and I think kind of, with the other stuff a little bit too, is to where it's like, I think I just need to be easier on myself with like drawing, right? Or art. If I don't do art, it's okay. It's not a waste of talent. It's not a blah, blah, blah. Because I created for years. Constantly created. As a kid, I was always drawing. I mean, I used to just sit there and I would draw a thing that was like a game show and make up a game and then draw blah, blah, blah based on the game, right? I used to do that stuff all the time. I'd come home from school and immediately I'd go in my room, turn my music on, and just start drawing in my sketchbooks, So for years and years, I just drew and drew and drew and drew, right? So it isn't like it's a waste of a talent, right? It may not, what it really is that I didn't hone a talent. It's not a waste because I used it. I did a lot with it in my own, way. So I just think it's one of those things where different stuff like that, where I just need to be kinder to myself when it comes to this. And if going back to it and doing it brings me joy, awesome. I have room for that. If it doesn't, all it does is bring me stress and worry and blah, blah, blah. It's like, why do I keep circling back to it? Because think about it, right? Like anything in life, if all it did was bring you anxiety and worry, why would you keep going back to that? At some point, again, it's like running in headfirst into a wall. At some point, you got to go, this is stupid. Like, I'm just hurting myself. So I think I want to find what brings me joy and kind of redefine that. That's where I'm really at, I think, as I'm tired of being miserable. I'm so tired of it. I want to find joy. It's why I think like the switch in my head from being all negative to trying to be positive and really focus on kindness and being more empathetic to people and situations. I think it's all in this mindset that's moving me toward who I've always wanted to be. But I feel like there's still a step missing in that I don't feel fulfilled. Nothing fills me with joy. Nothing fills me, so I need to find that because there has to be something. I can't be a joyless person, right? Like it's just, I just can't believe that that's the case. So yeah, I think I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna just straight up hack and steal your idea. I'm gonna pull the Price is Right move and just, I'm gonna bet $1.
Yeah. Well, here's the good news. Since it's the same, we can hold each other accountable and check in.
Well, it's true, and
Right?
it's interesting too because there's similarities in how we're looking at this, but there are still like some differences in it too. So it's, I like that. That's why when you said it, I was kind of already moving that way in my head a little bit. Not necessarily to that word, but when you said it and then you explained the mixer thing, and I was like, I just did basically the same thing over Christmas. I turned one thing into something else, and I think that I realized that it was like, oh yeah, I'd rather do this or have this than have this. So yeah, I think that's the move.
Cool.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, do you want to do the topic, or we're at almost an hour and a half?
No.
We'll
we're
just
good
move that for next
that's
time.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think Power Words is a good spot to wrap her up.
Yeah, we had a little physical health and well-being in the middle.
Yeah,
there too,
right.
so.
Yeah, we're going for all the health and well-being on this episode. Hopefully next time we'll both report better. I mean, I'm feeling decent, but
Yeah,
not terrible, but you know.
it'd be nice to feel good again.
Yeah.
I really would like to feel good.
yeah.
When someone says, "How you doing?" Great.
Yeah. Well, it's like when we signed on and I heard you coughing and I was like, oh man, he's still coughing. Like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah,
this poor
still.
guy. Like Tony's
Yep.
doing it too. Tony's still coughing too. And you guys, this last sicknesses have lined up pretty well and he's still coughing. It's like, man, like I gotta stay away from both of you, you know?
we are plague.
Yeah. Oh no, it's like a symbiote situation. Like we are venom. We are plague.
We are plague.
Oh no. Oh, looks like I'll be auditioning for a new podcast co-host just in case I need a third.
A plagueless host.
Time to call Dev.
That's it.
Yeah, that's gonna be the first rule. Like on the list of things that required talents. No plague.
Yeah, no plague.
Yep.
Oh,
man.
boy.
All right. Well, if you want to continue the conversation with us, you can head over to our website, which I will say as soon as I get it pulled up here. That's the wrong email. Jeez, dude. Act like you've done this before. There we go. It's the Crazy Life, or crazylifepodcast.weebly.com is the website. You can email us at crazylifepodcast@outlook.com if you'd like to. You can find us on Twitter at the Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/Crazy Life Podcast. We're part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. So please go check out those other shows there. My other podcast can be found at saltylanguage.com or on Twitter at salty_language. That show's not safe for work. And so please be careful who's around when you're listening. Our latest episode, we talked about New Year's Eve, Star Trek Lower Decks, Beavis and Butthead, What If, The Rock coming back to WWE, Godzilla and King Kong masks, and the craziness around those Stanley tumblers.
Oh yeah, I'm
You
glad
know.
you guys talked about that. I saw that today.
Absolutely crazy. So yeah, if you're into any of that, please give us a listen. Like I said, not safe for work. And then if you want to follow me on various social medias, you can find me at Stunami. How about you, sir?
Well, I joined Threads. I don't know if you noticed.
No, I didn't.
I liked a couple of
Oh,
your
that's
posts.
weird. Usually it notifies me when, like you're now following so-and-so. Because like if you follow someone on Instagram and then they sign up for Threads, you can, like I have it set to where it just auto-follows for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I can't remember what it was that you posted, but I thought it was amusing.
yeah, I tend to
Um,
post the
and-
same thing on Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter. I put it on the same, all three of them, mainly because
All
I
three
want
of
to
'em,
see
okay.
I want to see which ones do the best.
Oh, gotcha.
Typically,
that
it's
makes
Blue
sense.
Sky.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had the best responses on Blue because it's a lot like old Twitter, where there's a lot of
Okay.
people that like jokes. So and a lot of the people I follow on there are the people that are like the old people. The people I followed on Twitter, where we all used to just be silly and not talk politics all the time.
I might have to go check out Blue Sky now.
Yeah, if you need an invite, let me know because you have to have a code to sign up.
Do you?
So,
Okay.
Yeah, but I have codes. So
So because now they're all the same, you can, if you put in Henno Heider, I show up on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. And again, it's still my Just Slimo is my, because you can't separate it.
Oh,
because
yeah.
they're all associated with each other now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's right.
that's about it. That's
All right.
yeah. That's my exciting life. I got nothing new to report.
What? What
Be
about
nice
all
to
your
have
other
some, like,
podcasts?
Music.
Yeah.
I don't even do another podcast.
I know. I'm just
anymore.
kidding. I know.
So sad.
I know. Jeez. We should do one about the plague.
Sad.
You know. Oh wait, we just did. Oh man. All right. So yeah, that's all that stuff. So yeah, if you're struggling, please reach out to somebody. There's all sorts of help out there for you. I know there can be long waits and different stuff, but please stay with it, or at least talk to friends or whatever if possible. Um, yeah, and as I said a little earlier, please be kind to each other. Like I gave that example about the two people at the grocery store. Could have had the slower person and been really angry that they weren't hauling like the other person, but like I said, maybe they have a reason. Maybe dude's got a bad back or whatever. You just don't know what could be causing that, and so just be kind, try to be understanding, and just understand as much as you think you're the most important person in the universe, that other
What?
people
I'm not.
are also important. Do you know who I am? Yeah.
Do you know?
But yeah, definitely try to choose kindness when you can. So yeah, with that, Heno, you want to take us out of here?
Yeah. Live that 2024 omelet and don't worry about 2023's pizza. Leftover pizza. That's right.
Yeah, close enough. I'll fix it in post.